Eng155 Diversity Project for our final project. My name is Megan Davis.
My name is Carrington Moss.
Today we are talking about our company MedGen and our plan for expansion in 2 different countries.
Currently, we're based in Chicago, Illinois. We have 4 locations. Chicago, Illinois is our headquarters. San Francisco, California, Houston, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia. We currently have 1,600 employees. Our gross annual income is around $200 million, and we were established in 1996.
What we do here at MedGen is actually manufacture pharmaceuticals. We try to lower the cost of medications and the generic medications so they can be more affordable for the everyday person and working class person who may not be able to afford the brand name medications because they get very pricey very fast, especially when they're the only ones on the market. One thing we do when we dispense them is we dispense them to hospitals to be used for patients. They also go to retail pharmacies for more at-home use, and they go to pharmaceutical distributors who dispense them to places like hospitals and pharmacies if they are not contracted directly with us. The process of actually making these pharmaceuticals is first we identify the drugs that we would like to make, and then once we've identified that, we try to see what ingredients we can do to reduce the cost of these medications so they become more affordable to make and therefore more affordable to the patients. When we do this, after we think we have gotten our key ingredients, we test the reduced cost quality of the medications to make sure that they still function as good as the name brands as possible, or at least AB rated, which means that they are on a equivalency with the FDA so they can be used. Another thing after we do that is we make sure that the process can be replicated. In other words, we can repeat the process over and over again and it's not going to cause our company any issues as far as supply and demand goes. And when we make sure that we can actually meet this supply, then we can go to things like our distribution to the hospitals and the pharmacies and the distributors to get our medication across the world.
Why we want to expand? We want to expand for financial opportunity, opportunity to expand our brand, and opportunity to lower healthcare costs on a global scale. So those are our 3 reasons why we want to expand. Expansion requirements. We currently have 50 employees to be temporarily relocated, 50 employees to be relocated for long term, and 350 employees to be hired and trained.
The research that we're going to be looking at for our expansion in these different countries are going to be the economy of that country, the healthcare of that country, and the culture of that country. That way we know if, since we're based in healthcare, how our company will fit into the healthcare and culture for our employees that are going to be moving to these different countries and how it will affect them, because we do care about our employees here at MedGen. We also want to know about the economy to know if it's going to be stable in a financial situation to open a business here in this new country.
Now our locations that we hope to move to will be Tokyo, Japan, and Shanghai, China.
In Japan, which I'm going to tell you about, they actually have a parliamentary democracy, so they do have a democracy where they vote at the age of 18, like everyone else here in America can do, but they also have a prime minister where America does not, and their prime minister is usually only for ceremonial reasons, but they do have them there in place somewhat like we have our president here in the United States. The capital of Japan that we are looking at is Tokyo. The population in the overall country is 127 million, so it's a little bit more, but we'll round it off there. Also, a good thing about this country is actually that manufacturing makes up about 15% of their labor force currently, so it is not going to be a new or foreign thing to this country. They will most likely adopt it well if we move into this country. This here is going to be a photo of the Tokyo metropolis. This is actually the capital of Japan I was talking about just a moment ago and what we're going to go into more depth with now. As I said, Tokyo is the capital of Japan. Tokyo is also one of the largest cities in the world in terms of area. As you saw on the map how big it was, it covers a very large surface area for just one city. Also, Tokyo has a population of 8.5 million, which is actually very large for that city, although it does have a large size, so depending on that, it may not seem as large to some. Tokyo itself has almost 8,000 factories already operating within its city. So it is something that's very common to the residents here. It's something that's not going to offset anything, and it should be accepted if we do decide to move here. And Japan itself is a very international city. Over, I think it was 122,000 of its residents are actually foreign, and 14,000 of those are actually Americans. So there is a good population of people from America that are going to be similar to our country, so it should be as well good for our employees going to this new country. As a quote from Karen Elliott, Tokyo is the industrial, commercial, financial, communications, and educational center of Japan. So I think with there she's saying that everything is actually based in Japan, and it's just the hub for everything in that country. This here is a picture of Tokyo, and it shows you how vast this city is. You can see buildings for miles all the way until the mountains, and it shows you just how vast this city may be. And another thing I wanted to discuss was Japan's economy. The currency in Japan is actually the yen, and that is their form, where our form here in the US is the dollar. Their GDP, which would be their gross domestic product per capita, is over 42,000, which is actually very high. It's very close to the United States in terms of per capita. Also, their total GDP is 4,932 billion. That's a big number, but it is actually less than the United States. But when you look at it in terms of per capita and the size of the country itself, it is similar in economy to our country here. And another bonus is one of their biggest trade partners is actually already the United States. So it may pair well with our country here in the United States to already have a good trade base with Japan. And information that I found here that I have for you includes that Japan is one of the world's largest economies, even though it has few natural resources, and it must import most of its raw materials. And I found that through the Culture Grams online edition. So that one is there, and I did prepare some graphs here for you. This is the US and Japan GDP, and as I said, when you look at it here, the United States does look a lot larger than Japan in far as overall GDP. But when you do break it down to GDP per capita, Japan is a lot closer to the United States in terms of per capita, so it makes it, you can see the relativity here in how it compares to the United States economy already. And Japanese healthcare, since we're looking at that, since we are a healthcare company, their infant mortality is actually very low at 2 in every 1,000 births. That I think is actually lower than us here in the United States. Their life expectancy is actually very high as well. It is 82 years of age for men and 89 years of age for women. And part of their healthcare services is that they actually have 2 forms of health insurance. They have the national health insurance and the employee health insurance. Those are provided to the citizens based on their sector in which they work within the country. And it also shows here where their health expenditures in this country actually are about 10.5% of Japan's GDP. But one thing is that Japan is very strict in deciding which medications are allowed to be imported into Japan. So if we do not expand here, we may lose Japan as a potential marketplace. And one more thing I wanted to cover, again, for our employees and things that we would be moving here is Japan's culture. Their official language is Japanese, sorry. They speak Japanese, but English is still a very fluent language here, so there are many people that speak English, especially in the business world. Japanese society is very group-oriented with lots of loyalty to businesses and groups. So once people are part of a business or a group, they become very loyal in Japan, and you don't have to worry about usually people leaving or becoming astray from your business. Most of the Japanese people say that they do not have strong ties to religion, but nearly all the Japanese people do practice religion in some way, shape, or form. And their devotion to group in Central Japanese is essential to their lifestyle. Again, that's another quote from the Culture Grants Online Edition, but I thought that was very important to say when we were speaking about the groups and how they were dedicated in that culture.
So China. China's government is the People's Republic of China. They are controlled by a communist party. The capital is Beijing, and they have a population of over 1 billion. So a lot of people live there. A quote from World Book 2019 edition, about a fifth of the world's people live in China. So a lot of people live in China. Like I said, the capital is Beijing. So the capital of China. Shanghai is one of the largest cities in the world with 13 million residents. Shanghai is a huge hub for several industries that make up 5% of China's gross national product. 8% of all Chinese exports are from Shanghai. And a quote from Karen Ellicott, the industries in Shanghai include iron and steel, shipbuilding, textiles and garments, electronics, clocks, bicycles, automobiles, aircraft, pharmaceuticals, computers, publishing, and cinema. And this is Shanghai. It's very beautiful. It's a city. China's economy. The currency in China is the renminbi. That's how you say it. The gross domestic product per capita is over 16,000. The total gross domestic product is over 21 billion. And a quote from Culture Grams Online Edition, China's large economy is offset by its population, meaning real gross domestic product per capita is at the level of a developing country. This is a chart of United States and China gross domestic product comparison. As you can see, China is leading the United States right now. And this is China and United States gross domestic product per capita. And right here, United States is leading them. China's healthcare. The infant mortality rate is 12 per 1,000 births. So the life expectancy is 74 for men and 78 for women. China's healthcare is based on prevention. So programs often emphasize immunizations, prenatal care, pediatrics, and sanitation. Chinese use a mixture of traditional Chinese medicine, such as herbs and Western medical techniques in treating illness and injury. And although healthcare in cities is decently advanced, in rural areas, medical care is very poor. Childbirth in China has declined rapidly after 1980 due to the one couple, one child policy. So it's very sad. China's culture. The official language in China is Mandarin. China's constitution includes freedom of religion, but the practice of religious activities are very restricted. Obedience and authority are emphasized by the central government. And as the Chinese economy expands, the gap between the rich and poor grows. A quote from Culture Grams Online Edition. For the average person, having food, shelter, and clothing is more desirable and understandable than the relatively abstract concept of political freedom. Our final thoughts.
Here I was going to state that although Tokyo does not have a high overall GDP, the GDP per capita rivals that of America in some people's minds, so I do think that would show where their economy can hold our business. Also, they have more religious freedoms there, which will be good for our employees, along with the social freedoms that they do have in Japan. It's just it's very similar to the Western societies that we have here in the United States. They also have one of the largest economies in the world, so they are very stable, very good to look at expanding a business into, And one of their big pluses is that their healthcare system is so advanced in China. They have one of the most advanced healthcare systems, and that would be a really big bonus to us as a healthcare provider to be able to take part with.
And Shanghai, China has a higher overall gross domestic product in billions. They're more lenient rules of imports and on medications. They have prevention-based healthcare, and of course they have a higher population.
And based on everything that we have here today, I think we both came to the conclusion that we believe that Tokyo, Japan would actually be the better choice to expand into based on their economy and their culture and their healthcare and just many reasons that it looks great for our country to expand into. And we hope that you do agree with us in expanding here and growing our business to something that would be fantastic. Here I have listed all the works cited that we used during this report to bring you what we thought about our conclusions about Japan and China. We used the World Book 2019 edition for both our China and our Japan. We also used Culture Grants Online to find several of our information about China, Japan, and the United States. We also used this right here, the Salem Online, salempress.com. They found many facts for us based for our research on China. And the CIA.gov actually, they had their World Fact Book, which gave us a lot of information about China as well. Here in Japan, we used the Global Road Warriors to get a lot of information that was actually helpful to us. And we also used the Cities of the World 6th edition by Karen Ellicott and both of our researchers here to bring more information. And I really hope that this was a good presentation and we helped enlighten you on why we think we should be expanding into either one of these new countries. Thank you.
Thank you.